The other thing that has emerged through an hour, Bob, is you giving the Steelers an A for their offseason has people in a tizzy.
Well, I'm saying
positive and negative has people in a tizzy.
I told you why I said it, because they have tried to do. I give teams credit for trying to do stuff that they can do when others may. The way this offseason started, people had no chance of mentioning the Steelers, even a playoff berth, given the state of their quarterback play, whatever the case.
Not even an A- though. Let me challenge you on one thing. You said you thought Justin Fields should be target A, and
that's what I did.
They failed to get him.
So
there's no demerit for that?
Again, you're talking about a guy who's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, who has the brain and the ability to make things happen if things work out and if he gets protected.
So if I gave you a choice at the beginning of the offseason, Fields or Rodgers?
I still would take Fields. And again, my reasoning for Fields was at 25, you still may see a blossoming at quarterback. Sometimes you got to wait on guys. We've seen examples of Jonnu Smith, of Sam Darnold. You never know until things move in that direction. Maybe it's a year 2 here with this same cast of characters in the coaching department would bring out more of his game. And obviously the Jets believe that because they went out and gave him more money and got him away. Maybe he didn't get the feeling that the Steelers were going to commit to him the way he felt. I don't know. But I was holding out hope that a 25-year-old could figure it out in the pass game, given his mobility that they talk so much about, that he could be their answer without them having to redraft the position next year. I thought that was at least something I went on to consider.
And I hear that completely. I'm giving him a B-. I'm not sure they've gotten appreciably better. And plus, you wanted them to keep Pickens, Bob, and they got rid of Pickens, but you're still giving them an A. They didn't get the quarterback you wanted, and they didn't keep the receiver Pickens, you wanted.
And I said that from the beginning. I think he would have understood, even though it's tough for him to grasp this concept, to not be somebody who's a malcontent, knowing that you have so much money at risk. Knowing that they brought in a receiver who should give you more opportunity because he's going to draw the attention. To me, I wanted to see both of those guys together in the same offense. Yes, I don't hold a demerit. They made a decision. They brought in Jonnu Smith to compensate for that. You can label him a tight end all you want, but he's an 88 reception guy with 8 touchdowns and almost 1,000 yards, and he does things in the middle of the field. In the middle of the field, which has to be a target for this offense. Right. Aaron Rodgers gives you more of a chance if they're willing to allow it, and I think they will. I think they learned from that last year. They got to attack all parts of the field, and if they do, linebackers can't cover. Or safeties necessarily can cover big guys like Jonnu Smith. And if you have 2 of them in the game at the same time with Freiermuth double tight end kind of situations,
maybe I don't know. I keep hearing from everybody what a great job Arthur Smith did last year, including Omar Khan. Why did they rank just 22nd in total offense, barely ahead of the Jets? Why didn't they score a first-drive touchdown?
I did not say that. What I said.
No, I know you didn't say that. I'm not saying you said that.
What I'm saying is they needed to make upgrades, and I thought they did that. All I'm saying is Pickens, I would have given him the opportunity to say, you're making or breaking your life here.
I think you should go at least to an A-, Bob, because they didn't get the quarterback you wanted.
You started at C, you went to B, and you moved to B-.
I know.
You're moving
that's
the
my willingness to move. I think you should be willing to move.
I think part of this is also being viable. And I think the Pittsburgh Steelers would be the most viable team in terms of interest, in terms of watching, entertainment. It could be bad. Absolutely. Well, I'll look back at this and say, I was completely wrong.
We're not grading it on entertainment, though. We're grading it on effectiveness.
I'm grading it on all of it because it is an entertainment business more than anything. They want to win, certainly, but I think for those who watch the game, they're intrigued to talk about this stuff.
I'll say this
When you're intrigued, you watch.
Yeah, that's true.
You have more interest in it, and I think we'll see where it goes. It's up to them to execute the plan now that they put the plan in place.
I like that they got rid of George Pickens. I think it was addition by subtraction. I don't like the quarterback move, and I weight that obviously most heavily, and that really influences my grade for this offseason. However, the more I think about this deal, I really like it because I don't think Minka's very good anymore. They got 2 players for 1 for a guy they weren't going to sign. And, I don't know about Jalen Ramsey. Like I said, I got to see the guy play all the time to really get a feel for, is he still an elite cover corner? Is he even very good? I don't know. He hasn't been first-team All-Pro since 2021. And they also got Jonnu Smith thrown in. I don't think he's Tony Gonzalez.
Well, how would you grade the trade?
But I think he's functional. That particular grade, I'm giving it an A-.
I'm giving an A- also.
And I'm getting rid of George Pickens at any cost an A minus.
Okay.
An A. I'm giving that an A because
Jalen
you don't win with guys like that.
Jalen Ramsey has that kind of reputation too. He's not been the best of guys in there.
Jalen Ramsey comes to play.
Okay, but I think George
Pickens has quit
certainly
before.
But I also think, again, my logic simply was this. He has to have a big year. If he wants to be that $30 million a year guy, he has to do it.
I know.
Dallas
Then why aren't you giving the Steelers demerits for getting rid of him then?
Because I think they've covered up for that loss with Jonnu Smith. I think he can be effective in what they're trying to do. If Jonnu Smith was not in that trade, my offseason grade would not have been an A. I think I'm more bullish on him than I am probably Ramsey. I think they've upgraded on Dante Jackson for sure. Now they have a hole at safety, however. Like, even though I think that Minka was eroding, I still think he was, serviceable, certainly, as what we still call a free safety. A guy who's blanketing, ideally, a third of the field back there, who's keeping a lid on your defense. Who does that now? Yeah, I guess they're going to have to...
Thornhill?
Thornhill and Deshaun Elliott. Or if you put Ramsey back there...
Deshaun Elliott has to be near the line of scrimmage.
All right, then put Ramsey back there. He can do that.